The office was dark. Mace Windu ignited his purple blade, and Palpatine's face twisted into something monstrous. "I am the Senate!" he screamed. Anakin burst through the doors. His heart pounded. He'd seen the future in his nightmares, Padme dying, alone and afraid. Palpatine promised he could save her, the power of the dark side, the power to cheat death. But something was different this time. Anakin remembered his mother's voice. He remembered Qui-Gon's lessons. He remembered every Jedi who had ever believed in him. And standing there, watching Palpatine's yellow eyes burn with hatred, Anakin saw the truth. This man was the enemy. "Anakin, help me!" Palpatine shrieked, lightning crackling from his fingertips. "Don't let him kill me!" Mace Windu pushed forward, his blade inches from the Sith Lord's throat. "He's too dangerous to be left alive." For one heartbeat, Anakin hesitated. Then he ignited his lightsaber and stood beside Mace Windu. "You were never going to save her," Anakin said quietly. "You were going to take everything from me." Palpatine's face contorted with rage. "Fool, you've doomed her! You've doomed the galaxy!" Lightning exploded across the room. Anakin deflected it, the energy searing the walls. Mace Windu struck downward. His blade carved through Palpatine's defenses. The Sith Lord fell. Silence. Anakin collapsed to his knees, trembling. The dark whispers in his mind finally went quiet. He'd done it. He'd chosen the light. But across Coruscant, in Padme's apartment, she gasped and clutched her swollen belly. Something was wrong. The twins were coming early. 5 years had passed since Palpatine's fall. The Jedi Temple stood tall against Coruscant's skyline, but inside, everything had changed. Children laughed in the courtyards. Families walked the sacred halls. The old ways were gone, and at the center of it all were 2 5-year-old twins who wouldn't stop arguing. "I lifted 3 stones," Luke shouted, his blonde hair wild with excitement. "I lifted 4, Leia shot back, crossing her arms. "Master Yoda said mine were bigger, too." Anakin watched from the doorway, trying not to smile. Padme stood beside him, shaking her head. "They're just like you," she whispered. "They're like us," Anakin corrected. The council had debated for months after the twins were born. Obi-Wan argued that Anakin's children deserved a normal life. Mace Windu believed they were too powerful, too dangerous. But Yoda saw something different. He saw hope. "Raised apart, the Skywalkers were," Yoda had said, tapping his Geimer stick. "Raised together, balance they may bring." So the rules changed. Jedi could love. Jedi could have families. Attachment wasn't the enemy anymore. It was the reason to fight. Luke reached for another stone. His small hand trembled with concentration. The Force swirled around him, bright and pure. Beside him, Leia didn't even try. Her stone simply floated upward, effortless, as if the Force itself wanted to obey her. Anakin felt it immediately, the difference between them. Luke was raw power, waiting to explode. Leia was control, waiting to command. Together, they were something the galaxy had never seen before. Obi-Wan appeared at Anakin's shoulder, his expression grim. "We need to talk," he said quietly. "There's been a disturbance in the outer rim, something dark." Anakin's blood went cold. The Sith were supposed to be finished. The council chamber was tense. "The old code is broken," Anakin said, standing in the center. "We've been blind for centuries." Mace Windu's jaw tightened. "Careful, Skywalker. You speak of traditions that have guided the Jedi for 1,000 generations. Traditions that almost let Palpatine win," Anakin fired back. He'd spent years replaying his mistakes, the secret marriage, the lies, the fear. If the Jedi had allowed him to be honest, to ask for help, maybe he never would have been vulnerable to Sidious's manipulation. Obi-Wan stepped forward. "Anakin has a point," he said carefully.
We were so afraid of attachment that we pushed our own people into the shadows. We made them choose between love and duty. Dangerous this path is, Yoda warned. Attachment, the dark side's gateway, it remains. No, Anakin said firmly. Fear is the gateway. Secrets are the gateway. We taught Jedi to suppress their emotions instead of understanding them. That's what makes them fall. The room went silent. Slowly, Yoda nodded. Wisdom in pain young Skywalker has found. Learn from this we must. Over the next 3 years, Anakin transformed the Order. Jedi could marry. Families lived in the temple. Younglings weren't taken from their parents. They were trained alongside them. Transparency replaced secrecy. Emotional honesty replaced suppression. But not everyone agreed. In the shadows of the temple, a group of traditionalist Jedi met in secret. Master Sindralig led them, his face hard with conviction. Skywalker is leading us to ruin, he whispered. The old order survived for millennia without attachment. Now he risks everything. What do we do? Another asked. Dralig's hand rested on his lightsaber. We protect the true way, no matter the cost. Across the galaxy, on a forgotten world, something ancient stirred in the darkness. It had been waiting, and now it sensed opportunity. It happened during a training exercise. Luke stood on one side of the temple courtyard. Leia stood on the other, 50 meters away. Master Yoda placed a blindfold over Luke's eyes. Catch the sphere you must, without sight, without sound, only the Force. Obi-Wan threw the training sphere high into the air. Luke didn't move. He didn't reach out. He simply knew. His hand shot up at the exact moment. The sphere landed perfectly in his palm. The gathered Jedi murmured in amazement. "How did you know?" Obi-Wan asked. Luke pulled off his blindfold and pointed at Leia. "She saw it, so I saw it." Anakin stepped forward, his heart racing. "What do you mean?" "We share eyes sometimes," Leia explained, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "When one of us needs help, the other just shows up in here." She tapped her temple. Mace Windu's expression darkened. "This is beyond a normal Force bond. This is something else." They tested the twins for weeks. Luke could draw on Leia's calm when his emotions ran wild. Leia could channel Luke's raw power when she needed strength. Together, they could move objects neither could lift alone. They could communicate across vast distances without words. They were two halves of one impossible whole. Never seen this, I have. Dangerous such power could be, or salvation. Anakin watched his children meditate together, their breathing perfectly synchronized. Pride swelled in his chest, but so did fear. If they were this powerful now, what would they become? That night, Padme woke to find both children standing at their window, staring at the stars. "What's wrong?" she whispered. Luke and Leia spoke at the exact same moment, in perfect unison. "Something is coming." The explosion tore through Padme's Senate building at midday. Fire erupted across 3 floors. Debris rained onto Coruscant streets below. Screams echoed through the smoke. Inside the Jedi Temple, Anakin felt it instantly. His blood turned to ice. "Padme!" He was moving before anyone could stop him, sprinting through the halls, leaping from balconies. Luke and Leia felt his father's panic and ran after him. "Stay here," Obi-Wan shouted, but they didn't listen. By the time Anakin reached the Senate district, Republic security had sealed the area. Buildings burned, medics carried bodies on stretchers. His heart hammered in his chest. Then he saw her. Padme stumbled out of the smoke, her face covered in ash, but alive. Anakin caught her as she collapsed. "I'm okay," she gasped. "But Anakin, this wasn't random. They were asking for you. They wanted the Skywalkers." Obi-Wan arrived moments later, his comlink flashing urgent alerts. "It's not just Coruscant," he said, grimly. There were simultaneous attacks on Naboo, Aldera, and 3 Jedi outposts, coordinated, professional.
Mace Windu's voice crackled through. "We've identified the signature, Imperial remnants. They're calling themselves the Crimson Order." Anakin's hands clenched into fists. "How many?" "Enough," Mace replied. "And they're led by someone who knows our tactics, someone trained." That night, a hologram broadcast across every Republic channel. A figure in crimson armor appeared, face hidden behind a mask shaped like a predator's skull. "Citizens of the Republic," the Executor's voice echoed, cold and mechanical. "You live in a lie. The Jedi killed your rightful emperor. They poisoned your government. And now we will restore order." The hologram shifted. It showed the Jedi Temple, showed Anakin, showed the twins. "The Skywalkers are the disease. We are the cure." The transmission ended. Luke and Leia stood frozen, staring at the empty projector. Leia's voice was small. "Dad, why do they hate us?" Anakin had no answer, because the truth was worse than hate. Someone out there knew exactly how to hurt him. The mission to Ryloth should have been simple. Negotiate with the Twi'lek resistance, secure their support against the Crimson Order, get out clean. But when Luke and Leia's transport touched down, Imperial fighters screamed overhead. "Ambush!" their pilots shouted. Luke ignited his lightsaber, blue like his father's. "Leia, get to the palace. I'll handle this." "Luke, there's too many. Trust me." He leapt from the ship before she could argue. His blade became a blur of light, deflecting blaster fire from 6 directions at once. He moved like Anakin, like water, every motion effortless and deadly. 3 fighters down in 30 seconds. Leia watched for 1 heartbeat, then ran toward the palace, because this was their strategy. Luke drew the fire. Leia did the real work. Inside the throne room, the Twi'lek Council was divided. Half wanted to join the Republic, half feared Crimson Order retaliation. Leia didn't waste time. "You think hiding will save you," she said, her voice cutting through the arguing. "The Crimson Order doesn't negotiate, they conquer. Every world that stands alone falls alone." The council leader, Cham Syndulla, studied her carefully. "You're just a child. I'm a Skywalker, and I'm offering you a choice. Stand with us now or kneel to them later." She felt Luke through their bond. He was winning outside, but barely. She needed to finish this. "My brother is out there right now, bleeding for your freedom," Leia continued. "The Republic will do the same, but we need you to fight too. Not tomorrow, today." Silence. Then Cham stood. "The Twi'leks stand with the Republic." Outside, Luke deflected one last shot and collapsed to his knees, exhausted. Leia burst through the doors and caught him. "We did it," she whispered. Luke grinned. "We always do." But across the galaxy, the Executor watched the report of their success. His fists clenched. "Bring me Skywalker," he hissed to his generals. "Not the children, the father. He's the key to breaking them all." The distress signal came from Dathomir. Anakin knew it was a trap the moment he heard it, but the message was clear. The Executor had been captured by something worse, something that wanted Anakin specifically. "I'm going," Anakin told the council. "Not alone," Obi-Wan insisted. "Yes, alone." Anakin's voice was firm. "This is what they want. If I bring others, more people die." Padme grabbed his arm. "Anakin, please." "I have to finish this," he said softly. "I've been running from the darkness my whole life. It's time to face it." Luke and Leia watched their father leave, terror in their eyes. Dathomir was a graveyard. Red mist choked the valleys. Ancient Sith temples jutted from the ground like broken teeth. Anakin's ship landed near the largest one. He walked inside, lightsaber ready. The throne room was vast and empty, except for one figure,
seated in shadow. Anakin Skywalker, the chosen one who chose the light. How disappointing. The figure stepped forward. He wore robes blacker than space itself, his face hidden behind a mask of cracked bone. But his presence in the Force was overwhelming, ancient, patient, hungry. I am Darth Voren, and I have waited 20 years for this moment. Palpatine is dead. The Sith are finished. Voren laughed. Sidious was a pretender, a politician playing at darkness. I am the true heir to the Sith legacy, and you, Anakin, you were always meant to be mine. Red lightning crackled across the chamber. Anakin ignited his blade. I'll never turn. You already did, hissed Voren. At Tatooine, at Geonosis, in the Chancellor's office, you felt it. The power, the hate. It's still inside you, drowning in guilt and fear. I can set it free. The lightning struck. Anakin screamed as the darkness tore through his mind, dragging up every buried sin, every nightmare, every moment of rage. And for one terrible second, he wanted to let go, to stop fighting, to finally be free. Back on Coruscant, Luke and Leia both collapsed, clutching their chests. "Dad's in trouble," Luke gasped. Leia's eyes blazed with determination. "Then we go get him." Anakin was drowning in darkness. Voren's lightning wrapped around him like chains. Every regret, every failure, every scream from his past flooded his mind. He was back in the Tusken camp, back in Palpatine's office, back at the moment he almost lost everything. "Give in," Voren whispered. "It's so much easier than fighting." Anakin's knees buckled. His lightsaber fell from his hand. Then he felt them, two lights burning through the darkness, bright, pure, unbreakable. Luke and Leia burst into the throne room, their lightsabers ignited, blue and green, side by side. "Get away from our father," Luke shouted. Voren turned, surprised. The twins, how delightful. Leia didn't hesitate. She reached out through the Force, not to attack, but to heal. Her presence wrapped around Anakin's mind, pushing back the darkness, reminding him who he was. Luke charged forward, his blade clashing against Voren's with a sound like thunder. Anakin gasped, clarity returning. He looked up and saw his children, 15 years old, fearless, fighting for him. Everything Padme had said, everything Obi-Wan had taught, everything he'd reformed the Order to become, it was all for this moment. Anakin stood. His hand shot out, calling his lightsaber back to his palm. He ignited it and stepped beside his son. "2 Skywalkers," Voren snarled. "It won't be enough." "Try 3, Leia said, joining them. The duel was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Anakin's experience, Luke's raw power, Leia's perfect control. Their force bond synchronized every move, every strike, every breath. They fought as one. Voren was strong, ancient, deadly, but he was alone, and the Skywalkers had finally learned the truth that the Sith never could. Love wasn't weakness. It was the most powerful force in the galaxy. Anakin's blade struck high. Luke's swept low. Leia's pierced through the center. Darth Voren fell. Silence. The 3 Skywalkers stood together, breathing hard, their lightsabers still burning. Around them, the Sith temple began to crumble. "We need to go," Leia said, but Anakin pulled them both into a hug first. "You saved me. Again." Luke grinned. "That's what family does." They ran as the temple collapsed behind them, the last echo of the ancient Sith dying in fire and dust. Aboard their ship, racing back to Coruscant, Anakin watched his children laugh and argue like always. The darkness was finally gone. The war was over. The prophecy hadn't been about him alone. It had been about them all. 3 Skywalkers, 1 destiny. True balance, at last. Years later, Luke and Leia would rebuild the Jedi Order side by side, teaching a new generation that the Force wasn't about choosing light or dark. It was about choosing love over fear, hope over hate, family over isolation. And the galaxy would finally know peace, because the Skywalkers had won.